Hi, I'm Lori Kissinger. I'm the director of Borderless Arts Tennessee, and we're here today with the Sumner Songbirds program, which is a project of Borderless Arts Tennessee through the Teapot Diplomats Visual Arts program. And in this particular project, what the participants are learning to do is they're going to learn how to do sketches and modeling for architectural designs. The end goal is for them to create a memorial to the music of Sumner County, Tennessee. And that's what we're trying to get across through this entire project. So we have a few thank yous to make. One of those is going to be to Trish Fitzgerald, and you're going to be hearing from her in this particular video. Also, thank you to Barry Young of the Sumner Tourism. Barry is going to be providing the information on the musical artist from Sumner County, and he's also providing the space for us to show the renderings when all of this is over. We also thank Cassidy Architects, who are assisting with this, and Boone Productions, who's providing this particular video today. We also are thankful to the Tennessee Arts Commission, their ABC grant, and also to Mark and Nikki Antonini, who are providing the funding for the project. And Dee Kimbrell will be our lead artist working with our participants. So today we are starting out with Trish Fitzgerald. Now, Trish was a neighbor of mine, and she is the widow of Ernie Fitzgerald. And Ernie Fitzgerald was a builder in Sumner County for many years. And through that process, he did end up going blind, but he continued doing his work, which is why I wanted Trish to talk about that to our participants today. He also had a very large project that he did, which was creating Twitty City and the home of Conway Twitty. And the person who's going to be interviewing him today is Christian Kissinger, and Christian is on the board of Borderless Arts Tennessee. He also grew up with Trish as not only a neighbor, but also as sort of a extended family member to our family. And Christian is also with Public Consulting Group, which is one of our major funders for Borderless Arts Tennessee. So he's going to be talking to Trish about experiences with Ernie and some of the things that he did in that field.
Good afternoon. My name is Christian Kissinger. I am a board member with Borderless Arts Tennessee, and today we are going to be spending a few minutes with Miss Trish Fitzgerald, and she's going to be telling us a little about her experience and life with her husband, Ernie Fitzgerald. Let's go ahead and start from the beginning, Trish. So, thinking back, and of course I know the story because I've known you for years, but I always love hearing it. So how old were you when you met Ernie, and if you wouldn't mind recounting that story a little bit about how y'all met?
Well, we met on a blind date. My sister was dating this guy, and he was a very good friend of Ernie's. And so anyway, Ernie and his girlfriend had split up, but I was about 14 years old, and I could not date. But they said, well, could she go with Ernie and go to a movie with us? And so they finally said, okay. So that's how I met Ernie. And then he would come over to the house. We would play golf. We tee golf. And then we would play croquet or badminton, anything like that. But I could not date till I got on up in years.
And y'all ended up getting married right out of high school, you said?
Yes, the day after I graduated. We got married at my parents' home.
So how long were you all married?
Oh, 50 and a half years.
Wow, 50 and a half
Yes.
years. And so when you graduated and got married, how long was that before he started working as a draftsman?
Oh, he had already been working as a draftsman because he had already graduated.
Okay.
And he was already working. And then later on, I was still working, and he was too. And he knew that his eyes were going, so he decided, I've got to do something. I know how to draw them, all the plans. I have inspected commercial buildings, banks, whatever, and homes. And so anyway, he decided to just go ahead and open up a construction company. So he became a builder.
So what kind of, for our audience, what kind of training do you remember that he needed to have before opening up his own firm? was there any type of formal training, vocational training, or special schooling? I know he always used to talk to me about he took a lot of trigonometry classes and anything, but was there any required training for what he went into specifically?
No, there was no training for it. It was just his dream to design and build eventually, in which he did.
Very nice. And how long were the two of you married before you were brought into the firm as well? I know you talked about helping him.
Oh, right. Oh, I guess we had been married about 38, 40 years.
Okay. So it was a while after that.
Oh, it was.
Okay.
But his eyes were beginning to fail.
Understood. Okay. So before we started the recording, you were showing us some of the really, really interesting newspaper articles and some of the memories that you had from Ernie and the work that he did. Do you want to talk a little bit about some of the projects that stand out in your mind as being the most significant that you remember over the years?
Well, to me, and probably to Ernie, was Twitty City. And he became a very good friend of Twitty's. And but that was probably the largest one. He had built a small bank or two, and then he built one in Gallatin that was a big, nice bank. And but he loved building homes for people and designing them, and so that's what he wanted to do. So I took care of the bookwork and paying the employees, and that was it.
So did y'all know Conway before he started Twitty City, or is that how he got to know Conway, was through the building of Twitty City?
Well, we had met because we had a home on Fairways Drive, and this is when they were, Twitty and his family was moving back toward this area. And so anyway, they came over and looked at our house, but it wasn't what he wanted. He wanted to be closer to the lake and everything. And so anyway, our office backed up to where he had bought the property to build his home and his mother's home and his wife's mother's home, and a restaurant and everything. So they, Belton Lang, who worked for him, came down and talked to Ernie because it was just right at our back door. And so that's just when the friendship started.
I remember you telling a lot of stories of personal memories with Conway.
Oh, yes.
Something that always stuck with me was he would show up because musicians obviously are on the reverse schedule, and was it ham and eggs he always liked for you to fix him?
No, bologna and eggs.
That's what it was.
Oh, of course, at night we would be getting ready to go to bed. Well, his daytime was at night. So he would call, and then he and his wife would come over, and then he said, well, I would like some eggs and some bologna. And one time I said, I don't have any bologna. This was the first time when I found out about it. And so then the next day I went and bought some bologna, and I called him, and I said, hey, I've got some bologna now. So he came up, but he loved fried bologna.
So I want to go back to Ernie and your relationship as it relates to the business, because I know you took on an increased role once Ernie's site began to go, and then as it,
Yes.
I mean, he was running the firm for many years after going
yes.
blind. So talk to us a little bit about how his going blind affected your role in the business and the extra responsibility you took on.
Well, I was in charge of paying all the bills, paying everything, and contacting and getting the insurance, and then insurance that we would have like for workman comp and all of that. And then just sometimes helping at night, more or less, to bid out jobs. But he had his own secretary and then receptionist, and so they were a great help. They were right by him all the time.
Something that I've actually never asked you over the years, or I never got the chance to speak with him about, is I'm sure in that line of work he had probably a lot of established clients because he had a very a good reputation, obviously. As clients begin to learn that his sight was beginning to fail him, did that affect any client-business relationship at all, or did his reputation kind of just carry him right through?
That never entered his mind, but he would always tell them that he had someone to draw the plans, but he would sketch them out to the best he could on a piece of paper or talk to the draftsman or whoever was going to be drawing them. And sometimes it included, if it was a large commercial building, it would include talking to the architect and telling him what they had told him they wanted. But he got where he would, I guess, just build, and then his reputation just took off on that because he would stand behind it.
Absolutely.
And I've seen him go back to a house that was 2 years old and fix a small thing, but he took care of his people.
Well, before we close out, I want to have you read a poem here that you provided us, but before we do that, anything that you would like to convey to the viewers here about Ernie and your relationship and the business, or anything that we didn't ask or cover that you want everyone to know?
Well, Ernie and I were very close, and to me, he was not blind. He would take hold of my arm, and we would walk. I would stand in front of him a little ways, and that way I would say, we're coming 2 steps going up or going down. And I would tell him approximately how many, but I would always be 1 step ahead, so he would know. And he knew my actions with everything, and it was just routine, and you just begin to live with it. Of course, Ernie was very sick, and I didn't know what was going on. He knew he had cancer. I did not. And when I got Jake home from the vet, all Jake would do, he would lay down on a sofa, not this one, but the one in, as I called it, his man room, with the TV and everything. And but Jake would come up and smell around his throat. And I knew something was wrong, but I just didn't know what. And I've always heard that a dog can smell cancer. I don't know. But now he went through a lot when Ernie died. But he wouldn't give up, and I would not give up for him. He was a great guy.
Absolutely, couldn't agree more. So with that, I do want to, and I think this is a fitting segue, if you will. Would you mind just reading this poem here for us?
Soar to new heights, be a keen observer, sweep down on opportunities, rise above it all, spread your wings, find a field that suits you, the sky's the limit, and he really meant that. Don't let anything stand in your way of a dream. Take hold and go forward with it. And that's what he did.
Trish, we thank you so much for this. It was lovely, and I actually personally learned some things that I never knew after all these years, so we very much appreciate the time.
Well, he thought the world of you and your family. I want you to know that.
Appreciate
and
that.
He always said you would soar to the heights, and you have. And
Thank you.
I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.